Good morning, friends. Have you ever felt like God made you, but when he made you, he broke the mold? You see, I've heard this said a number of times in my life, and it's generally in a positive light. However, to be honest with you, there's been times in my life where I wish that maybe God made me just a little less unique. Am I the only one who's ever felt like that? If you have felt like that, make sure you give me a comment. Let me know that I'm not alone. I am now on multiple platforms and I'm trying to do something new here. And so if you could just give me some feedback, I sure would appreciate it. Make sure that you could hear me and all that good stuff. You know, there have been many times in my life where, like I said, I just wish that God hadn't made me so unique. I mean, maybe I could be satisfied with a standard 9 to 5 job. Maybe I could be a little less driven to create something new and more willing to just follow the plan. If you're maybe a little entrepreneurial minded, then you can probably relate, at least to some extent. Sometimes the path less traveled can be lonely and overwhelming. We live surrounded by a majority that is content with their status quo. Okay, they may not be content with the results of their status quo, but they find ways to blame others for why they aren't accomplishing more. This morning, I'm going to begin our adventure through the Bible chapter by chapter, providing my perspective as a former pastor, a former high net worth financial advisor, and a current asset manager, coach, speaker, and trainer. You see, this race isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not about finishing the fastest, it's about a better understanding of what we believe and how we pursue God's purpose. I believe that the coming days are going to be filled with many false prophets, manipulative politicians, and believers woefully unprepared to handle the mounting disinformation and persecution of their core beliefs. I know this challenge all too well from my own experiences and feel called to provide my friends with the tools that they need to thrive in the midst of metaphorical storms. If we're just now connecting, let me be the first to welcome you to Middle Class Millionaire University and invite you to subscribe to the brand new YouTube channel I've got, where I'll be sharing content at the intersection of faith and financial independence. My name's Joe Sugg, and I'm the Bible-believing, freedom-seeking, Jeep-driving founder of Middle Class Millionaire LLC, where our mission is to educate and empower entrepreneurial-minded, faith-focused, purpose-driven people to achieve financial independence so that they may pursue their God-given passions instead of a life-sucking paycheck. With that out of the way, let's jump right into reading Genesis chapter 1 together. It takes a little less than 4 minutes, then I'll share some perspective to launch our understanding.
Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, one day. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God made the expanse, and separated the waters that were below the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning, a second day. Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth bearing fruit according to their kind with seed in them." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them, according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. And they shall serve as signs and for seasons, and for days and years, and they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. Then God said, let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens. And God created the great sea creatures, and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. Then God said, let the earth produce living creatures according to their kind, livestock and crawling things and animals of the earth according to their kind. And it was so. God made the animals of the earth according to their kind, and the livestock according to their kind, and everything that crawls on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every crawling thing that crawls on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you, and to every animal of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life. I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
All right, I'll figure out all this technology soon. So just in the last few minutes here, I was thinking back kind of after reading through chapter 1, and in 2009, I went from providing strategic advanced planning advice to roughly $1 billion in assets to literally bankruptcy nearly overnight. As difficult as the financial loss was, the absolute biggest thing that nearly crushed me was really, having everything that I believed to be true attacked by people who believed that the very belief in God was fraudulent, while simultaneously having fellow Christians and those believed, that I believed at least, to be friends, distance themselves from me rather than come along my side. Attacks came in from all forms of underlying slander, but really, the underlying portion of it was really that daring to do something different doesn't just make you wrong in the eyes of many, but it makes you evil. And honestly, we're seeing a lot of that right now in our culture, and it's getting worse, even worse than it was back then. Everything in me wanted to know why I was so driven to achieve something bigger than myself. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to just help people and love people. And why was that so wrong? And what was the problem with that? At the same time, I felt like I couldn't be content just doing the status quo. I wanted to do something bigger than myself. Then I read Genesis chapter 1. And, throughout the whole book or through the whole verse, we could go through that verse by verse and say, break down all kinds of things. And, if you spend any time assessing, the theology of the chapter, there's lots and lots of things that we could discuss. But just from a financial independence perspective, one thing I want to just encourage you with that jumped out to me. After God spent 5 days creating everything in the universe, we come to verse 26. And he says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image and according to our likeness. Well, I've read that a lot, but until I read it from the perspective of trying to understand why I was like me, why I wanted to create, why I wanted to build, why I wanted to be an entrepreneur, why I wanted to do something bigger than myself, I didn't really understand what internally was driving me until I realized that mankind, you, me, every single one of us was designed, we were originally built to create. Think about that. After 5 days of creation, on day 6, God made us. He made people. And then he said, I'm going to make people, mankind, in my image and likeness. In other words, I'm going to make people think like I think and process like I process. And they're going to be the stewards of everything in the world. And they're going to steward like me. They're going to build and grow. And then, in fact, over and over again throughout the scripture, in this chapter as well as in chapters to come, he continues to bless and say, now I've made you, I've given you the tools, I've given you the creation, I've given you the pieces. Now be fruitful and multiply. And I know a lot of people take that as just specifically from a procreation standpoint, but I genuinely believe that it's not just about being fruitful and multiplying from a procreation standpoint, but being fruitful literally means be productive. And multiply literally means to expand or to continue to duplicate yourself and duplicate your efforts. I believe that we are called to be more than what society wants to hold us back to. Scripture tells us that Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy. You know, I wonder how many of us have had our joy stolen, have had our drive stolen, have had our efforts blunted by the lack of confidence of those around us, by the lack of people really loving and caring for us. You know, I promised you I would keep this under 15 minutes, and I just want to encourage you today as we wrap this up. In Genesis chapter 1, over and over again, God created, God created, God created. And I believe that you and I are called for a purpose. I believe that you and I have something to accomplish today. And as we go through Scripture, we're going to understand not just some formula that people want to try and artificially pull out of Scripture, but we're going to understand the heart of God for us to drive forward and pursue His purpose for our life. You guys are incredible. Thanks for being my friend. And I really would love it if you would connect with me, subscribe to the channels, like the pages, and as we dig into this, let's go on this journey together through Scripture, as well as I'm going to be sharing a lot of financial information of how to grow yourself financially, how to grow your business. There's just some really awesome opportunities out there. And in spite of all the challenges that we're about to face and that we are facing right now, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the best is yet to come. Have a great day, and thanks for being with me. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Same bat time, same bat channel.